Hi, I'm Kat, I play Sims, and I've got a slightly unusual build video. So I used James Turner's random generator and ended up with this weird safe house build. I've got to fit in 6 newborns, 39 future cubes, and hopefully an indoor pool on a budget, which I actually didn't end up spending all of. I built this one in Oasis Springs. I originally wanted Strangerville, but I couldn't find a lot the right size. The first thing I had to do was go into debug and get 6 babies because I'd made Sims to occupy the house, but you can't actually make baby Sims like newborns, you have to make infants. So I just gave them some debug kids and then went from there. I ended up using a surprising amount of Adventure Awaits in this build, so I gave it a metal roof texture from Adventure Awaits, and then I added a little porch area because I was trying to do a 2-door system with it being a safe house. I didn't put a railing on the stairs because the Sims are scared of them, and I thought I'd made a really big room upstairs for the newborns, but it turned out not to be the case because 6 is a lot. I got the floor plan together, although I didn't quite know how I was going to use everything, and then I started moving all of the babies upstairs into what was going to be the nursery. I ended up using a cabin wall texture from Adventure Awaits because I thought it fit the vibes, and then for doors I picked one for rent, which was like a lock-in door, and then I just put an Adventure Awaits one on the inside to the house. I put the same Seasons door all the way through the inside because I was just trying to get a rough match to the wood texture. And then I also used the Adventure Awaits cabin flooring as well, with a just sort of generic orange tile in the bathroom. While I was early in the build, I decided to go upstairs and make sure I had the 39 future cubes that were one of the requirements. So I just put them all on the floor in that room and left them for the moment, and then added the walls for the rest of the house. The Sims in this scenario love laundry, so I made sure to mark out a big room for them downstairs, and then I started work on the bathroom, which was just sort of very basic. The bath, toilet, and sink were all base game, and I used horse ranch counters for a sort of rustic look. I didn't want many windows because it was meant to be a safe house, so I just added a couple of the smallest ones I could. And then I started work on the kitchen, but I didn't actually keep it in the place I put it in the first place. I used cottage living appliances and those horse ranch counters again, and then I added a little snowy escape table for the dining table in the corner. I added eco lifestyle chairs and a kitchen clutter sink, and then I was going to put the bedroom in this corner room on the bottom, so I started putting that in. I had a snowy escape bed and some of the horse ranch side tables. They were basically carrying most of the build along with Adventure Awaits because all of the wood tones matched each other really well. I put in like a temporary looking dresser thing with Dream Home Decorator clothes because it's supposed to be a safe house and it's not really a permanent place. I reshuffled the bathroom a little bit so that I could fit in a living area a bit better, and then I used a base game sofa and a trunk for the TV, which was only small. I wound up putting in a cats and dogs bookshelf in the corner, and I just quickly changed the colour of the trunk to match the green. I put in a little fireplace by the front door and then a mirror as well, and then I decided it was time to tackle the nursery. My first thought really was that newborns aren't newborns for very long in The Sims, so I was going to have to upgrade the room for infants. I thought the space was huge until I started trying to fit in 6 infant cribs and 6 bassinets. There was basically no room for the basics that I needed, let alone for any other furniture in here. It was basically just an exercise in futility, moving stuff around and around and around, trying to make it functional, but I know for a fact that come the end of this video, there's no way they can get to all the cribs or all the bassinets. I tried getting in some decoration and I managed to get a little changing table on the wall, which is from Growing Together, but that was about all I could get in there in the end. After one last absolute desperate shuffle, I ended up turning my attention to my next biggest problem, which was the room of future cubes. So I got these shelves from Dream Home Decorator and just tiled them across the walls. I put them on basically every wall and I still didn't have quite enough space. And what made it worse was I decided to change the bedroom to up here in a minute because I wanted that optional indoor pool and the only way to do it was downstairs in what was currently the bedroom. So I started shifting everything upstairs, and honestly, I would hate to live in a room like this. It just looks awful. Despite the space actually being bigger than the bedroom downstairs, it ended up looking smaller because of all of those little future cube shelves. And then I wound up putting the indoor pool down there as well so I could at least check something off, and I started cluttering. I used pretty much all base game clutter in here as well. I put up mirrors from growing together and made like a Jack and Jill sink situation. I got a little plant in the corner and then I moved on to the entryway, so I chose a table that was part of some kind of rewards event, I think, and I just cluttered it with a few bits from the most recent kits. I was looking for clutter for the rest of the house because despite the fact that I genuinely hated it, I didn't want it to be completely bare. So I got some of the recent reward event cushions and put them on the sofa to make it a little bit brighter, and then I put some laundry day rugs down. I remembered that one of the requirements was that the Sims love music, so I put like a record player under the stairs and then I put speakers in just about every other room that I could. After that, I turned my attention to the laundry stuff, which was the next most important thing. So I just went for all of the furniture and the clutter that I could find from the laundry day stuff pack. I put outside laundry as well as inside in. I gave them a little seating area and an ottoman, and then just all of the ironing boards and clutter and rugs. I put a couple of hampers around the house so that they can collect clothes everywhere, because with 6 newborns you're really going to need it. And then I went through all of the artwork trying to find as much musical stuff as I could, and never use those jazz ones. I think they're hideous, but at this point it was just about all I could find that fit the bill. I went back outside and got a fence from Adventure Awaits with the matching gate, and I started doing some terrain stuff as well. So I added a little rocky pathway to match the general sandy look, and I started putting in a couple of bits and pieces of plants. I tried to match them in the area. So there was just the one big tree that was kind of native to the area, but then I started putting in more of the cactuses and aloe plants and things like that. And I was only really trying to fill a couple of little gaps here and there. I really didn't want to do too much extra in the house because I hated it, but I went back in with some plants and some clutter and tried to fill a few little corners. Honestly, the whole thing is still pretty bare looking when I'm finished, but I just couldn't bring myself to put any more work into it because I was so physically ill looking at the whole thing. But in the end, I did actually manage to meet all of the requirements of the challenge, so enjoy the screenshots. Please consider a like and subscribe.